Good evening, my fellow exorcists, and welcome to the Lair of the Film Exorcist. Tonight, I will be reviewing The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Confident in his powers as Spider-Man, Peter Parker embraces his new role as a hero and spends time with Gwen Stacy in between protecting New York from criminals. However, his greatest battle yet is about to begin. With the emergence of Electro, played by Jamie Foxx, Peter must confront an enemy far more powerful than he is. And when his old friend Harry Osborn, played by Dane DeHaan, returns, Peter comes to realize that all his enemies have one thing in common: Oscorp. Now, I'm doing this alone because we've been putting it off for like weeks, and I did not want to put cinema through this. Like, we discussed it before doing this, before watching the movie. I asked her, do you really want to do this? Because she always makes the joke that it would take a lot of beer and other alcohol, just to get through this movie, and I can see why. Like, I did not want to put her through this piece of crap again. And as it's been stated over and over again, it's not Andrew Garfield's fault. If he had like another chance in, like we're hoping he gets with an Amazing Spider-Man 3, it probably could have saved this. Like they could have done with Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire, where they were planning on saving what happened in Spider-Man 3. The Amazing Spider-Man 3 could have saved this movie, but honestly, we don't know what Sony's plan is, and we don't know what the future holds. But Andrew Garfield is not a bad actor, and it's, to be honest, I didn't really like Peter in this movie. Like, he was the same as he was in The Amazing Spider-Man, and again, that worked. He's a really good Spider-Man, but in this movie, there is a lot to talk about with this. And I've got my notes here, so let's start with, I actually liked the friendship between Peter and Harry at the beginning of the movie. Like when Harry comes back and Peter and him are just acting all buddy-buddy, and then they go off and they talk about relationships and make fun of each other, and it's just like a guy's relationship. Where then it gets into, oh, I need Spider-Man's blood, or I need Peter Parker's blood to survive because of a disease that killed my father, and it just took a downfall. Like, Peter kind of felt like, again, it's not Andrew Garfield's fault, but he felt a bit, meaner in this movie. Like, you'd expect Spider-Man to want to help his best friend. I mean, I get it. He's iffy with how the serum might affect his friend, how it might ruin him or make his condition a lot worse, but that's what experiments are for. Like, you could have tested it on like lab rats and other things like that before you tested it on Harry, and I kind of get it, because in the last movie there was the thing with Kirk Connors where he helped him come up with the serum that turns him into a lizard, and now he's iffy about doing the same thing with Harry. But yeah, you'd think Peter would be a lot more willing to help his friend no matter what, instead of just outright telling him no and then forcing Harry to beg him and then just shutting him down again as Spider-Man. Like, that was stupid, and that ruined the friendship in this movie. I'm just gonna be honest, I kind of wish that this movie mostly revolved around Peter and Harry's story instead of Electro, which is the other problem with this. Like, a lot of people talk about how the Tobey Maguire movies were really mean to Peter Parker, like from the beginning, where everyone was beating on him, from the bus driver to most of his classmates. Here, you have everybody acting like a jerk to Electro. Like, the poor guy is literally spending his birthday alone. He's got no one, he's got no family, he's got no friends, he's got no co-workers. Everybody just treats him like shit on his birthday, and the guy's just looking for friends. And he's trying to find that in Spider-Man, he's trying to find that in Gwen, he's trying to make friends with his coworkers, and just everybody dunks on him except for like Spider-Man, but then again, Peter Parker meets a lot of people, and it's understandable that he would forget Max. But yeah, they did my guy Electro dirty in this movie. Like, were they trying to make everyone in New York hateable? My next note is the Gwen and Peter romance was okay, except for the beginning with the breakup scene, which we've seen many times in the Spider-Man movies. Like, they always break up, but did they really have to do it in the beginning? And I get it, Peter's iffy about the relationship because he promised Gwen's father that he wouldn't date her anymore, but that's what felt off to me the most in this movie. Like, every time he goes to Gwen Stacy, we have to see in the background Captain Stacy, her father just appearing out of nowhere, and it's just like, is this really the only reason why you brought this actor back? Just to give Peter a reminder, just to have him stand in the background and just... I feel bad for the actor. I'm sorry to say I don't remember his name, but I feel bad for him if this was the only thing he was promised and they didn't pay him a shit ton of money for it. And it just ruined the romance between Gwen Stacy and Peter. Like, in the first movie, it was fun. I liked it. It wasn't perfect. It was no Mary Jane and Peter Parker from the first two Spider-Man movies, but yeah, no. There actually was one thing that saved the relationship for a bit, and that was near the middle when Peter and Gwen were having this really fun banter about how they want to stay friends, and it's just they're making fun of little things that they do and that they love seeing each other do because they both want this relationship. Gwen broke up with him because she was tired of him putting Spider-Man before her and just losing it over her father. Like, I get it, PTSD, but I would have broken up with him too if he kept on blaming it on her father and not trying to work on things. But also there was the problem before that with, why is Peter Parker a fucking stalker? I mean, I get it. He's worried about her because she's connected to him and but if you're going to if you should have given her more time away from you. Like, you didn't have to stalk her. I get it, you care, but just no. Give her time to breathe. Then we can have the scene where they go off and talk and have the fun banter and act cutesy and then start to get back together. And then, I'm gonna put it out there, they ruin this scene by bringing in the old trope of the girlfriend's moving away. She's moving away to England, and it's just, why? Why do you have to ruin the movie? Like, we already know what's gonna happen. The trailer literally fucking ruined the entire movie. Like, I watched the trailer like twice, and every plot twist is in there. We know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna be honest, nobody cares about Peter Parker's mother and father. I've mentioned this in previous reviews. They're not technically good parents because they left Peter at a young age, and I get it, there's this whole big thing with Oscorp, and they tried to explain it all, that Peter's father worked for Oscorp looking for a cure to Osborn's virus, with the spiders, and he's the reason why Peter becomes Spider-Man. But I don't think anyone really wanted to see this in a Spider-Man movie. We're fine with having Aunt May and Uncle Ben as his guardians. It took us away from the whole Peter Harry thing. It's the reason why Harry becomes a douche later on with the virus. Like, he becomes a very cringy bad guy once he becomes the Goblin and once he befriends Electro. While I was discussing this, I was texting Cinema, and I'm just like, the Goblin transformation is weird. Like, I get it. The growing of the claws is kind of cool. The back motion is cool, but there's half the time you can't tell what the hell is going on because the lights are constantly flashing. It was stupid. And the design for the Goblin, I like the new hoverboard. I like the look of the pumpkin bombs, how they actually look like pumpkin bombs. Like little gourds. But the look of the character is bad. Like, they went from Harry in Spider-Man 3, James Franco, who I really liked the design of his costume in that movie, and I felt he was a decent Goblin Jr. Here, we try to do that, but we make it worse. Like, we make it really bad that we don't want to see this. We don't care about this Goblin. I don't know about you, but I think the writers of these movies, they like hitting Harry in the head way too many times. Like, we saw it in Spider-Man 3 where he hit his head like twice. In this movie, during the Spider-Man fight, they hit him in the head again. Like, what the hell is with that? Did Sam Raimi and Mark Webb just get together and just decide, yeah, we need to keep hitting Harry? Where? Oh, yeah, let's hit him in the head. Because that seems to be Goblin's weakness. Like, that's what kills him. Or gives him amnesia. I can't even say that I liked the battle between Spider-Man and the Goblin. Like, it was too short and it was stupid as hell. Now, the fight that I did like, I liked the fight with Electro, where they're using the coils to beat up Spider-Man, and it's fun, and I like how Spider-Man uses his now magnetically charged webs to create a charge and blast it back at Electro and kill him. But actually, no. I also like how they played the Itsy Bitsy Spider song that's very similar to what they did in the very first Spider-Man movie with the Goblin. And I feel like that was a nice callback. And this is a fun battle. The design of Electro is fucking shit, but I like the battle. I really do, and I thought it was fun, and I thought it was funny how Gwen hit Electro with a car to get him away from Peter. That was the fun part of the supervillain battle, and I wish this movie was more like that, had more of that. But no, they couldn't. They decided not to. Now, we're going to come back to the ending, and we're going to come back to Electro, because I also want to make a point that I like the battery scene in this movie. I really like the battery scene. Like, watching Peter try and fix his web so they are not... so he doesn't get electrocuted. He uses multiple different batteries. He's watching tutorials on YouTube, and it's very relatable, and it's funny as hell watching Peter get blasted across the room because of it. Let's get back to the bad with, they wasted Norman Osborn in this movie. Like, we see him for a couple of minutes, and then they kill him off. We don't even get to see him in the Goblin suit. we see him dying in bed in this weakened state. I don't even know who the actor was. Uh, but that's it. And then we just hear, oh, Norman Osborn is dead. Well, there goes the Green Goblin. Now we have to deal with Goblin Jr., who, I would have liked this movie if it was mostly about Peter and his relationship with Gwen and Harry's trying to save. Like, I like the Harry Osborn is trying to figure out a cure for his disease, and then he becomes the Green Goblin. I just feel that Mark Webb should have put more thought into that story. Like, I like that story. I feel that should have been its own movie. I also kind of hate how they took the comics character of Ashley Kafka and turned her into a male mad scientist who experiments on Electro. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know about Queen Goblin and Ashley Kafka's backstory and the whole cloning thing with her. So it wasn't until I looked up the actual character and decided to learn a bit about her after hearing the name Dr. Kafka. And yeah, I would have preferred Ashley to whatever the hell this guy's name is. One, we barely see him in this movie, and he's just your typical German mad scientist trope. Where with her, we could have had her killed similar to the comics, and then had her brought back in a later movie. And that was supposedly an idea that they had for, like, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 3, if they put Venom in that. Like, they were gonna have her in scenes with Venom because apparently Ashley Kafka in the comics has a relationship with Eddie Brock, and she marries J. Jonah Jameson's son, and just, it's a whole big thing with that, and I would have liked that better than this. They should have brought her in, made her a scientist, shouldn't have done the German mad scientist. They should have made her like someone who actually wanted to help Electro or Norman, and leave it at that. No, they had to go through the idea of the mad scientist, which, again, out of all the tropes, you went for that. Let's come back to the design of Electro. Now, No Way Home, I know I've mentioned this many times, came out, like, back in December, and I'm still bringing it up because that costume design was a lot better than this one. Like, here, and this is my opinion, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, here, Electro, they decided to make him more like Dr. Manhattan, who, I love his design in the comic books. I love how accurate they were in the Watchmen movie. But here, this is supposed to be Electro. Yellow lightning bolts, green and yellow costume. Here they give him a hoodie and they essentially paint him blue. And I'm pretty sure you had the technology. You can't bullshit me and tell me, oh, well, it's the early 2010s. They didn't have the technology to make it look good. Now they do. No. It was like, I don't know, less than 10 years ago, they had the technology. I'm with everyone else. It's confusing because Electro dies in this movie before he even finds out that he's Peter. The only one that finds out that Spider-Man is Peter is Harry. And he's in a prison cell talking about the Sinister Six, which we never got. Here, Jamie Foxx is dead, so how can you say he knows who Peter is when He's got no knowledge, and he died before he could. You guys didn't think this through. I mean, I do love him in No Way Home, but you didn't think it through that Jamie Foxx's Electro didn't know who Spider-Man was? And I get it, they were trying to do one character from each movie, but if you were gonna do that, actually I don't think you'd want to do that, because then the only person you could bring into was Goblin Jr., and that would have been stupid as hell. So, I'm gonna let go the decision that you made, because it's better. But I don't know. Also, I gotta say, with the magnetized webs that scene between Peter and Gwen, it's cute, but also, I think you guys should have gone with the more comic accurate way to beat Electro, which was, and say it with me everybody, the electrically insulated suit, or the electro-proof suit as they call it in the comics, where it's a suit that absorbs electricity and disperses it. So Peter, we don't have to see Peter in this movie get electrocuted how many times and somehow fucking survive by pure fucking luck and by his healing factor. One of the characters in the movie even said, give him he probably wears a rubber suit so it saves him from the electricity. Peter Parker's wearing a cloth suit in this movie. So, you decide to play with the fans by having that one character mention the rubber suit, and then you don't use it? What the hell is wrong with you? How do you miss such a perfect opportunity? Like the insulated suit. You know what we haven't mentioned yet? The fight with Rhino. Like, the beginning. It's funny. I enjoyed it. I loved watching Electro act like a dumb criminal, gun-happy. He's Alexei from the comics, technically. Like, he's supposed to be an idiot. They did it in the Spider-Man PS4 video game, where they made him an idiot. And I'm perfectly fine with that. But did you have to just waste him? Like, again, I like the high-speed chase. I like how he's just so gun-happy and ready to steal this plutonium. But in the next scene that we see him, and you make a big deal about it because he's supposed to be a part of the Sinister Six, you cut his scene down. So we only get to see him in the Rhino suit for like, I don't know, five minutes? Not even. And you leave us off with Peter Parker going in to beat the crap out of him with a manhole cover, and then you just cut the movie right there. Like, yeah, we're hyped for Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man 3, but we also know we're never gonna get it because of how badly you made this movie, so you gave us hype for no reason. You gave the Rhino an amazing fucking suit. Like, I love the high-tech suit. I'm happy he's no longer in this, Rhino costume. Like, I'm gonna be the first to admit that I don't like the costume in the comics where it's a rubber Rhino suit. Like, that's kind of stupid. I like the mech suit. But if you're gonna do that, make him one of the main villains. Don't just leave him to the end of the movie and tease us with a fight that we're never gonna see. That's bad writing, and that's stupid. And I'm saying that, I know I'm saying stupid so many times because this movie is stupid. Like, you hype up the fans with this Sinister Six movie. Like, oh, we're bringing the Sinister Six. We've got Gustave Fier in this movie from the books, where he's bringing together all the Sinister Six at the request of Harry Osborn. But unless Sony pulls the stick out of their ass and gives Andrew Garfield a second chance in a Spider-Man 3 like we all are pleading for right now, Tobey Maguire's pleading for it, Andrew Garfield wants to come back, Tom Holland's pleading for it, everyone wants it, so give it to us, so we can finally have our Sinister Six. Give us the Sony version of Vulture. Give us the Sony version of Dr. Octopus again. Give us Alexei again. Give us the Sony Sinister Six. At this point, I don't care how bad the movie is or how bad the plot is, because you guys already fucked that up with Amazing Spider-Man 2. But give us a Sinister Six movie. Just please, Sony. Okay, I'm done beating on this movie. I'm giving it a 4. Like, I don't completely like Spider-Man 3 because of its flaws, but at least it decided to show us J. Jonah Jameson. Like, here, they give him a mention, they talk about how Peter's working for him on the side, but we never get to see that. We just get mentions. We get all these... We got Felicity Jones in this movie, and she's just Harry's assistant. We get nothing of Black Cat. We get no hint that she's Black Cat in this movie. We just get her as a background character for like 2 scenes. So yeah, 4. Because you do have scenes that work, but compared to everything that is bad, those scenes are just bogged down. And, oh, you know what? Before I forget, here's the one scene I really liked between Peter and Gwen Stacy, and that's the comic accurate death of Gwen Stacy in this movie. Like, this is very accurate to that comic book. Because we watch as the webs go, they grab onto Gwen Stacy, and she's dead. And he snaps her neck, and I love how this pays off in No Way Home, and it has a huge payoff there. It's been years since this movie came out, so we had to wait a long time for the payoff. But yeah, this is one of the better, like, this is the best scene next to the Electro fight. And I actually felt hurt when I saw Gwen Stacy die. I mean, the friendly banter between Peter and Gwen was amazing in this movie, and this scene just broke my fucking heart, because we're never gonna see Gwen Stacy again. Unless she comes back in like a spin-off where it's Spider-Gwen, which I doubt it, because I think Emma Stone is done with this series. But yeah, this was the most heartbreaking scene, and it's the one good thing that they did. So, you know what? I know I said 4, but let's give it a 5 just for the Gwen Stacy scene. 5 out of 10. 5 spider senses out of 10. Yeah. Again, while this movie has good scenes, it's just destroyed by all the bad that's involved with this. The unneeded plot lines, the over use of villains. Like, they should have made Electro's story different, and they should have made it a different movie, and they should have focused a bit more on the Harry and Peter friendship in this and that storyline. Like, they were just putting too many eggs in one basket, and just, I can see why my friend didn't want to come back to this, and to be honest, I never want to come back to this movie. I'll watch The Amazing Spider-Man 1, but this movie is just so bad compared to Spider-Man 3. Like, that was everybody's most hated movie for years until this came out. And this one is like the bottom of the fucking list. This is as bad as you can get in a Spider-Man movie. Just, I'm done. I can't say any more. I never want to touch this movie again. Unless I'm gonna watch, like, online, the Gwen Stacy death scene, but or the Electro, battle with the coils, but that's as far as I'm gonna go with touching this movie ever again. I'm done. Good night. Mark Webb. If you ever do make The Amazing Spider-Man 3, do better. Because this is just not your best work. Good night, guys.